Hey, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, Modern Couples, What Your Therapist Never Told You. My name is Rick Miller.
My name is Lillian Borges.
And we are both couples therapists who love working with couples. And we have a doozy for you today. Today's episode is the eye roll.
The eye roll. Have you ever had couples like that one person is talking and the other one is rolling their eyes, making faces and fidgety?
I think every therapist has dealt with the eye roll couple, either one or both.
Do you do that personally to your partner?
I can't say that I've never done it at all. But let's break it down. What is the eye roll? What is it about?
Yes. So I think it brings me to the non-verbal part of the communication, right?
Dismissive.
It could be aggressive. It could be funny. It depends on the couple. I've done the eye roll in a funny way. Say that again, and I'll roll my eyes.
Wait, you do that as a therapist?
Yes, if they are doing it. And if the couple is humorous, I can use humor with them.
Good.
So then I make that face and I roll my eyes and I say, guys, we know this better. Let's redo this. So I can do that, right? It's good humor. Relax people. Because what we want to do in a conversation, in communication, is bring down the threat.
Yes. Well,
because if you're not feeling safe and secure, there's no communication.
I think you said it was an act of aggression, and I completely agree that it is. And it's a way of communicating to your partner that either you don't care, or that you're pissed off, or that you're not respecting them.
Yeah. So communication is mostly nonverbal. We don't realize that. Right? We are so fixated in what we are saying, the content, but the content, the words is just 7% of human communication.
That's frightening.
55% is nonverbal, meaning gestures, eye rolling, and 38% is a tone of voice.
Yeah.
Right? So we communicate a lot in our tone of voice, how we say things. And if we are not careful enough with those things, we communicate threatening. And once you are a threat, then you are at war. You're not, in peace anymore. Then you have an enemy. You do not have a partner. So the eye roll, sometimes we do point that out, or sometimes we don't. We just want to take a time to bring safety in the relationship when couples is in our office, because we know that it doesn't matter if they are not feeling safe in their bodies, they're not going to communicate well.
I frequently point out the eye roll because I find it so disrespectful. And if you're going to work with me and you're working on communication, I'm not going to let that go. There are many couples I work with that don't do the eye roll at all, and they have conversations in my office, and we go to deep places, and it's respectful and kind of beautiful. But I also see a lot of couples who do the eye roll, and they dismiss each other, and they figuratively walk away. They're not literally walking away because, of course, they're trapped in couples therapy. But you're giving a message to your partner when you do the eye roll that I don't care what you're saying. In this moment, I don't respect you, or I hate you. And it's not the most productive way of communicating, to say the very least. So what I will do with people is I will ask them what was happening inside so that they can put their feelings into words rather than acting it out on their face. And then I'll check in with the other partner to get a sense of whether they understand why they were feeling what they felt, meaning their partners, and what their reaction is to hearing the truth and how it feels different to hear the truth rather than to see an eye roll. Because I don't know if you've ever been the recipient of an eye roll. How do you not get pissed off? How do you not get worked up? How do you not get resentful?
Yeah, so it's an act of war. But I love what you did which is good therapeutic work, is put words
Mm-hmm.
in your
Yep.
eye world. What you're trying to communicate here. Why
Yes.
don't you say it out loud?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can deal with it instead of just having this passive aggressive
Mm-hmm.
behavior that doesn't lead you anywhere. What
Yeah.
do you mean? Bring it
Mhm.
up, be an adult instead
Yes.
of a child, an adult instead of immaturely trying to communicate and piss the other person off, because this is not going to take you anywhere. But don't you think, just bringing something in different, don't you think, because as you're talking about, I am seeing or feeling some multicultural differences, right? I think that our nonverbal is dictated a lot by culture,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was talking to a friend of mine. I spent some days with some very good friends traveling, and she is from India.
Mm-hmm.
And when she is here by herself, she doesn't have much of the nonverbal Indian nonverbal, but her sister was visiting. So she was just doing the bubblehead. And so I was talking to her and she was shaking her head no.
Ah.
And I said, what about no? We
Right.
talked about this. You don't agree. She said, no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with
Really?
you.
And she was shaking her head no?
Shaking her head no. So in India, if they are shaking, they are saying, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm with you.
Well, I can see you on the screen as we're recording, and watching you shake your head no, it registers the wrong way in the brain, at least
Exactly.
our brains.
Exactly. Yeah. So part of our attunement has to being wired, or we learn that from our culture, and understanding what that means for our couple, for our partners is important, especially if you are a multicultural couple. Eventually you will learn and understand that, but it can cause a lot of miscommunication. The nonverbal, if they're not said, can cause a lot of miscommunication.
Okay, so I have a question. Do you think more men use eye rolls or women?
I don't think it matters. I don't have any research.
We need to Google that and see what the answer is.
Yes, we need to Google that, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Probably
I've
not
seen both.
that different, because it really is coming from a place of frustration or anger or a lack of respect. I'm thinking about a heterosexual couple I work with, and I've worked with them a while to get them to really listen to each other and wait a moment before responding and absorb the messages that their partner's telling each other. And in this particular couple, it's the man that rolls his eyes and he will cross his arms and he'll literally back away and dissociate to tune her out. And of course, she only gets louder and bolder in those moments because she's losing him. So we got to a place in my office where he's stopped himself from doing that, but it keeps coming back up when he feels misaligned. And it's like, use your words. Don't use the action to convey something. It's not productive.
Yeah. He probably learned in his childhood that talking it out, saying what he feels, would not take him anywhere.
Yes.
That he has to keep it in.
Yeah.
So that causes a lot of problems. But you said, is it related to a gender? I don't think it's related to a gender. I think it's related to a type of specific insecure attachment, right? I think that everybody does the eye roll. Everybody would just go and say, see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
See what I have to deal with. I'm here so you can witness my pain. You know, my partner is really a pain in the ass. I'm a great person.
They're the problem.
They're the problem. And I just come here so you can tell them so they can change.
Well, and that's kind of what the eye roll is. It's a way of avoiding responsibility.
Could be.
Saying it's your fault and I don't have to participate in whatever it is that I ought to be participating in these moments. So I think one of the suggestions that I have for people is to hone in on your listening skills when you're with your partner, to work at being a little less reactive before you jump in, and to give your partner the opportunity of being heard, considered, and understood. This is a hard thing for a lot of people who are overly reactive and like to jump in quickly and defend themselves. but it's important.
It is important, and important to look inside and not only point the finger. And that is a lot of times the problem, right? I'm upset. I don't know why. Oh, it's probably you, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And we don't look inside and say, why am I upset? Why this comment that my partner just made? Why am I seeing that critical? Why that criticism affect me so much to a point that I am being aggressive towards my partner?
Yeah.
So who am I? And what are my push buttons that hurt me? We don't usually do that. And
Right.
that's what we try to do in couples therapy, help people understand what are their hot buttons, what themes or what situations that they are triggered and how they react in a way that is not good.
Yeah.
Then we try to change.
Have you been with a person who has given you the eye roll? And what does it elicit in you?
Well, I'm a mother.
Okay. Well, okay. We're done.
Yeah. Have you ever been around teenagers? Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think
And how do you handle it? Where does it bring you?
In that case, they are trying to get to you.
Yeah.
And so if you don't let them, which is the same with partners,
Yes.
right? If you do not let them, and then, of course, I'm not an unmovable person.
Of course.
It affects me, right? But I think that I try to step back, not let that affect me, because I know that is a immature behavior.
Yeah.
And if I have in me to ask, what do you mean by that? Use your words. I can do that easily with teenagers because of the difference in hierarchy. I'm an adult and I said, okay, please use your words. What do you mean by that? Oh, you're being da, da, da. Yes, I am because I'm your mom. And, so it's different. But if I can't do that with my partner at the moment, good. If not, I will bring it later and say, well, let's talk about that.
I like the idea of being able to stay grounded and not fall into the trap. It's probably a little easier as a parent than as a partner because of what we expect our partners to do for us, which is unrealistic and idealistic, but nevertheless, we want our partners to meet all of our needs. So it's easier to have a hissy fit if we're not getting our needs met. And it's also more difficult to receive feedback that's aggressive because it really pisses me off or hurts me, of course.
Yes. This is where the learned behavior comes in,
Yes.
right? Eye roll for me is not very triggering, but if
Really?
you slam
I'm
the
impressed.
door, oh dear Lord. And that's a Brazilian thing, by the way. If you slam the car door, you go like, we don't like it. We don't like it.
Okay, so that is like the worst insult. But an eye roll is okay?
That is not triggering for me. That's very teenage-like.
Oh, God, that's so funny because I see it as one of the worst offenses. And I can handle a teenage-like eye roll, but I can't handle an eye roll that's filled with hatred and aggression. Maybe there's two different kinds of eye rolls here.
But that's what I'm saying. You can eye roll and make it funny,
That's true.
It depends on how you're doing this. And that's why it's so intrinsic to each couple, right?
Yep.
And we say that the couples have their own language,
Yes.
and that is true, right? You might eye roll or lift one eyebrow, and then you know exactly what your partner means.
Right.
And that makes you upset right away. And the therapist is just like, what happened?
Right. Yes.
Could someone translate this to me? But I think that there is a lot being communicated without words with couples.
Yeah. I think it's our job as couples therapists and also our job as podcast hosts to help people realize that it's up to you to work on maintaining your strength inside, not to get too triggered, and to watch how you non-verbally communicate with your partner. Going back to what you said earlier, if a small percentage of communication is through words, then a large percentage of our efforts needs to be focused on how am I holding my body in this moment? What are my facial expressions? Am I making eye contact or am I looking away? What is the tone of my voice? There are so many aspects to the metaphorical eye roll that we need to take accountability for. So I guess I'm saying we need to step up and be present with our partners and work really hard at being connected and close.
Yes. It's interesting how the nonverbal can be soothing to us, right?
Yes.
Looking at each other's eyes. You might be mad, but if my partner holds my hand, that immediately makes me...
Yep. Brings me
down. So that is called co-regulation, right? When you have interactive regulation, it's not only me trying to calm myself down. And it's so much more cost effective to do that with each other than by yourself. You spend less energy from your nervous system doing that with co-regulation than self-regulation. So being aware of that we can really trigger each other very easily, and we can also down-regulate, bring and calm someone down very easily by the tone of voice, by holding their hand, by having something that is non-threatening and saying, I'm safe, saying without words, right? I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm here.
And you're modeling that in your tone right now.
Yeah. Smiling, breathing with them, looking them in the eye. It's all about the safety and security, right? If you're not feeling safe and secure, then you're not going to be in your best. You lose your partner and you have an enemy instead. And it's each other's responsibility. It's my responsibility to help my partner, because when I don't have a partner, then I can't communicate. And we usually think, oh, I need to calm down and I need to have my best communication and say I statements, and which is helpful.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but I think at a certain point in time, people stop doing that in couples and they decide I get to get my needs met no matter what, including pointing out to my partner why they're being a jerk, which is aggressive or the equivalent of an eye roll. And people feel entitled to being disrespectful to prove a point, which is not the point of being in a couple.
Yes. So the way I see it, that is insecure behavior. That only creates more insecurity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that comes a time when we decide who is the couple that I want to be.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question.
And the more you use insecure behaviors, the more crystallized, calcified they be. So if that's how you want to be, that's fine. I'm probably not the right therapist for you. But
it's a great question.
But that is,
who's the couple that you want to be?
Who is the couple that you want to be?
Yeah.
But what are the things that you're taking from our conversation today? What do you think?
I mean, I think I've mostly said everything. I think it's up to us as individuals to be aware of our body and how we communicate, to work on our listening skills, and to position ourselves both as listener, but as a communicator, to use respect rather than hostility. That's it for me.
Yeah. So use your nonverbal communication in a way that is not non-aggressive, in a way that is calming, that brings safety. So slow down, breathe deeply, bring that idea of who I want to be.
I love that.
Yes. The differences and conflicts are so much easier to deal with, and they are just dissolve and disappear when you're non-threatening.
Well, bring that to our offices and we'll have many successes, and bring it to your lives out there. Well, that's it for today. Thanks as always for joining us for Modern Couples, What Your Therapist Never Told You. And we will see you here next time.
See you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.